Good morning, everyone, and happy Thursday. So far, we are seeing a lot of, I guess you can say, fading type price action. The stock market is not tanking lower this morning. At the same time, it is not blasting up. We are just seeing a lot of these stocks that tried to run up earlier in pre-market, but that failed and are kind of just like sliding off to the downside. A lot of stocks are mixed today, and there isn't a ton of momentum in either direction as of right now. We do have that Tesla Cyber Rodeo event, but that's later tonight. That's like in 12 hours from now. So we definitely have some time before that.
Yeah, we do. And Elon Musk was putting stuff on Twitter last night about this one, Mike. He said he'll end up giving a talk around 9 p.m. So that's pretty big there. And I can't wait to see what happens because sometimes he really surprises us at these types of events. You know, I remember at the Gigafactory Berlin one, it was so funny because Elon Musk started dancing around and he started trending on Twitter and stuff. So it was definitely interesting. But so far today, it looks like Tesla's starting to point back to the upside, Mike, which is great to see. And I'm actually seeing AMC climbing up my watch list here as they start to get some good momentum to the upside as well. But I will say, it's nothing too crazy yet. The market just opened and it could definitely go a lot higher.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, AMC, it's up around 2.2% right now. Of course, it's very volatile. Let me see with this one. Yeah, I mean, it's coming off of a pretty decent drop over the past 2 weeks or so. It had a lot of momentum to the upside on March 28th and then March 29th, but it just did a complete 180, and it looks like we're trying to bounce off that $20 support.
Yeah, we're trying to. Hopefully it does get some good momentum off of that because I know $20 has been a big level over the past year. It's had a few bounces there. So I could maybe see AMC maybe bouncing off 20 and starting to go up. I will say, Mike, this setup on the daily chart is very interesting. They were flying up. Now they've been consolidating for almost 8 red days in a row now, kind of matching that green uptrend there. But as I see this, this consolidation around the $20 support definitely looks pretty good, I think. And I don't know, I'm someone who doesn't really like to play AMC, but if it does hold $20 here, I think we might get maybe a pretty safe pop up towards maybe 23 or something.
Yeah, so I'm seeing some articles right now about rumors about Amazon maybe buying AMC to merge with AMC or something like that.
Whoa.
I have not verified this. It's just a rumor. So maybe that could be driving in a little bit of hype. But at the same time, I feel like if this rumor was valid, I feel like AMC would have a lot more hype and it would be up a lot more than 1.2%.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, if that really did happen, I think we would see AMC probably shoot up 10, 20. I mean, I hate to say it, maybe even 25 or 30%. I mean, we just saw Twitter fly up with Elon Musk taking that large stake in it. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if AMC shot up with that news as well. But Mike, that would be nuts, actually. I wouldn't believe you. If you told me that happened, I don't think I'd even believe you. That's how crazy it is.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. How's Palantir doing, Tom? I know Cornish mentioned it in the Discord. Let's see. Yeah, it's doing pretty decent.
Yeah, it is. It's bouncing off their support down here right around $12.85, $13. Starting to retest this high up here around $13.25. I know this one had a few touches up here around $13.25 yesterday. And man, if it starts to break above that today, I hope we get some nice momentum because so far at open, it's up 1.4%. It definitely is pointing up here. So hopefully we see this one continue. And Mike, I know one of your favorites, Enphase, is also starting to break back out. This one's having a nice move, and I know I've been hitting on Unity a lot lately, and they're also starting to extend to the upside.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, wow. Oh, wow. I didn't even see this. So when the market first opened, Tom, I would say probably 75% of my watch list was in the red. And then, I scroll down, and it's, completely flip-flopped. We have Teladoc now up 5%. Roblox up 3.5%. Square, AI, Palantir, Chewy, Zoom, they're all actually running up in a really nice way, so I'll take it.
Yeah, it's nice to see finally. It's been a couple days since these growth plays have been moving to the upside. I know that this pullback recently, Mike, we're kind of coming off of that big uptrend. So the pullback was a little bit expected, but hopefully we start to move up sooner rather than later. And if they start to fly up today, I'll definitely take it. You know, like this type of movement is definitely nice to see, and it's pretty good for day trades too. Like with Palantir here, I like the setup, and like you said, Teladoc was really flying up this morning, up 4.5% as well. And you gotta love this type of price action. It makes for some good momentum plays here, and I really hope that this continues throughout the day because like some of these plays are up quite a bit, but I'm looking at some of these other stocks like Plug Power. It's only up like 0.4%. So I feel like a lot of these plays still have a lot of room to run up as well. Like, of course there's some that are up like 2 to 4%, but like a lot of them like, like AI is only up like 1.5%, for example.
Yeah, that's true. So I just want to talk about Teladoc for 1 second. So yeah, they're up around 4% right now, and they actually had some decent news this morning. Obviously, anything with analysts, you always want to take with a grain of salt. But Guggenheim basically gave them a buy rating and a price target of $96. So that's pretty decent. Like I just said, though, analysts, you always want to take everything they say with a grain of salt. But still, it's pretty decent news.
Yeah, it is. Anytime that these companies get like upgrades and like bigger price targets and stuff like that, it definitely helps these companies usually in the short term. So I think that's good to see them start Teladoc at a buy with a $96 price target. I mean, 96 is pretty higher than we're at now. We're only at $70 a share. So if we rose back up to 96, let's get the like exact percentage here. Something right around like a 34.5, almost 35% increase right there if we did start running up to 96. So I think that's pretty telling, Mike, and I hope Teladoc comes back because it's been another one of those like plays kind of like Zoom that just got totally destroyed. They were at 308. They ran all the way down to 70. So I think 96 is pretty safe. That's not asking for too much out of Teladoc.
Yeah, I think that's pretty realistic. So that's good. I was gonna mention one other ticker. Dang, I forgot. What was it? I forgot. We'll come back to it later in the stream. But looking at some other plays right now, Tom, what's leading your watch list?
Yeah, I actually have Teladoc up there with Unity just behind. Unity is another one up like 4.5%. But actually, just under that, I know I mentioned Enphase earlier, but something that's surprising today is DWAC is coming back a little bit. It's up 4%. I don't think this one's going to be too good anymore in the future, but we'll definitely see because it's been volatile in the past, and who knows, maybe if they get some good news, it could go up. But I feel like whenever Elon Musk started buying Twitter, Mike, I think that might have like put the nail in the coffin for DWAC. I think that finally put him under. But either way, though, the stock's moving up. It's up 4.5%, so it is having some momentum. One that's kind of surprising me today, Mike, is Target. It's up another 2.2%, and I will say Target's been on a pretty nice uptrend ever since it hit the support down here around 208.
Have you seen Walmart?
Walmart today, let's check it out. It's only up 0.4% though, Mike.
Yes.
But I get it's such a slow mover though. The price action looks pretty good.
Yeah, like you said, it's only up like 0.5%, but check out that daily chart though. Like it has been on like a non-stop uptrend. You can look at it two ways, like since like March 25th, or if you're looking at it in like a more broad sense, it's been on a non-stop uptrend since like February 28th. Like Walmart went from 134 up to 156. Like I know like for like other companies it might not be a lot, but Walmart, that is giant. Like it's been on such a crazy uptrend over like the past month and a half.
It really has. I mean, that's huge, Mike. I cannot believe that Walmart is up this much right now. And I'm kind of curious to see how maybe some of these options are looking here. I'm definitely going to try to like maybe plot one here on the chart. Hang on 1 second here. So I'm going to go to like the May 20th expiration, May 20th expiration, Mike, and get the 150 calls. Let's go ahead and check those out and see how they've performed ever since like February 28th. So let's go find somewhere like February 28th. You could have got these calls for about $100, Mike, and they're worth like $800 right now. That would have been a pretty good trade. That's pretty telling right there with Walmart. Sure, the stock only moved 0.5%, but look at this nice 800% increase in just like a month and a half.
Yeah. Alrighty. Let's see. We have Sean saying, "Let's go." So happy to see this flip. And I know he was talking about some of the tech plays we were just talking about. Let's see. What else do we have? Sean said IPI potash running. I feel like we haven't been looking at the potash plays for like a couple weeks.
Yeah, we haven't actually, and they're starting to run back to the upside. Like IPI's breaking out again, back up to a new high. Look at it on the 5-minute candles here. It's starting to really move up in a pretty good way. Mosaic is it's not breaking out like IPI, but it was yesterday, and it's trying to run up again. So these stocks are definitely having a lot of momentum, and I've been seeing more reports of like fertilizer issues and stuff like that. And I know, don't these companies kind of deal with some type of fertilizer stuff? Like I think Mosaic does.
Yeah, lots to do with like fertilizer and like Cornish just mentioned potash and stuff. So yeah, they've definitely been rising ever since the whole problem in Ukraine really escalated.
Yeah, they have. It's kind of insane to see how explosive these have been. I mean, like in Mosaic's case, if you would have gotten in around like the middle of February, you're talking about like $45 up to 72. I mean, that's a pretty big increase percentage wise there. That's like over 50%, and that's insane, Mike, to be honest. Like as we start to approach like maybe $75, I'm curious to see whenever these stocks are going to finally start to pull back. But as we know, like sometimes these stocks, they might go on catalysts like this and run up for like a couple more months before finally falling off. It's so hard to gauge whenever these stocks are so high.
Yeah, true that. What else? We have George mentioning CrowdStrike with a nice bounce. Let's see. Yeah, it is having a really nice bounce, especially compared to yesterday. It has a decent amount of momentum too, like it's almost up 3%.
Yeah, that's pretty big here. I mean, it definitely started really moving this morning. Looks like there was a big support there around 210 intraday from yesterday. We fell below that momentarily, but we had a couple more bounces right around there. So maybe use 210 as a good support today. Now that we flew up through 215, maybe that'll act as a bit of a support too. But you're right. I mean, this one's definitely moving back to the upside. And I know CrowdStrike has had a lot of hype, Mike, and it's been in a pretty good sector. It also bounced like right off this major resistance at like 225 to 230. So I'm going to be curious to see how CrowdStrike does, because I feel like that even though we are consolidating here, maybe for the next couple days, I do feel like over the next couple months, it'll start to finally break back out above like 230.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm going to do a quick scan to see some plays that we have moving right now. It looks like HPQ is still running up, Tom. I know news came out today how Berkshire took a pretty nice stake in HPQ. The stock's running up, and we're getting closer and closer to that high of pre-market.
Yeah, this one's huge, actually. It's ran all the way up to $40.85. It's been falling on a pretty good downtrend over the past week, and then even over the past few months, it's been really choppy, but it really started shooting back to the upside this morning. Anytime we hear of Berkshire getting into anything, Mike, that's obviously huge. Like, I know we were talking about this a little bit yesterday, but look at like Berk A. I know they have two different shares, Berk A and Berk B, but look at Berk A right here. You can see how high they've been flying up over the past few years, and they've been getting pretty overextended, but they're still out here making plays. HPQ, that's a pretty big pop today, Mike. Like, they're up 15%. You don't see this very often out of stocks like this, and it's nice to see it finally breaking back out, because I know that like if we go to HP on like a max weekly chart, it's been all over the place, and we're finally starting to really move above those like dot-com bubble era levels, like right around $35. We were having a lot of consolidation there, so I'm happy to see it finally breaking this and holding it well.
All right, there we go. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty big news with Berkshire buying in, like he's been making some pretty out there moves lately. Like, of course, he's been buying Oxy like crazy. And, obviously he's getting an HPQ now. So it's pretty interesting. And at the same time, Tom, like BRK/B, like the Berk B shares, have been exploding and basically outperforming like almost all other stocks over like the past couple months.
It has. It's been insane to see it flying up like this. And, it's been flying up. And I know that there's been a lot of stocks like Apple that have been doing very well for Warren Buffett, but kind of like what we talked about yesterday, it's kind of strange because Warren Buffett has been taking a little bit of criticism for some some like a couple of bad trades, but in the end, I mean, he ended up making so much with like Apple. And what were some of those other holdings you mentioned from yesterday? I know like Apple now he has HPQ, and I have to look it up again.
Yeah, I know. I think Wells Fargo was on there too, and American Express, and then Coca-Cola too. So let's see, Berkshire Holdings. Let's see. Yeah. So Apple, Bank of America, American Express, Coca-Cola, Kraft Heinz, Verizon, stuff like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, Verizon. It's been a while since we talked about these 5G plays, but I've been seeing these stocks kind of bouncing off their supports lately. I know AT&T has been starting to really consolidate down here, and I'm curious to see if maybe these stocks will finally start to pop. I've been hearing some news lately of like 5G rollouts starting to happen, so I feel like eventually these companies that are getting into 5G like AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon will start to do a little bit better, I think.
Yeah, there we go. All right, we have Chewy saying, to be honest, you guys deserve more love and support. You guys work hard. Yeah, thanks for that. I mean, if you're looking to support the stream, it really helps us out by, sharing the stream and just joining up and liking it. So, yeah, if you guys like today's stream, please hit that like button. It helps us so much, and Tom and I really, really appreciate it. So, thanks, Chewy. Shout out to you. At the same time, Tom, I know you mentioned like Verizon and AT&T and stuff like that. George said it was Verizon's ex-dividend today, which I guess justifies the rally the past couple of days in dump today. Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. Tom, how has Verizon been doing like over like the past couple of years? Because I feel like it's been very stagnant.
It really has, and it was pretty surprising because I know a lot of people have been projecting these companies that are dealing with 5G, like Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and pretty much the phone companies. It's pretty crazy to see how they've been falling off like this. Like I said, a lot of people are projecting these companies to do a lot better with the rollout of 5G, and there was lots of analysts and articles and stuff like that. That's why it's always important to take what analysts say with a grain of salt. But I definitely feel like they've been consolidating a lot for the past couple of years. Verizon fell just before the end of 2021, right down to that $50 support. That's been a pretty big level for Verizon in the past, and I'm really curious to see if we end up holding around here because $52 is not a bad price to buy this at, in my opinion, and I just can't wait to see like what the future holds because I do feel like that at some point, like whenever 5G starts really rolling out, I know it's already out in some cases, but I mean like once we see a full-fledged rollout of it, I think that we'll finally start to see like some maybe some better upside, like some better upside momentum out of these stocks. That's probably not going to happen right away. These stocks are fairly slow movers, but I will say though that I do like the price point right here, Mike, overall, and you're right, they've definitely been falling off and they've been very stagnant. Like even AT&T has been really falling off to the downside. Verizon's just been pretty much staying flat, but T has been like breaking new lows.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we'll see. We have Joe mentioning Roblox. So let's see. Roblox. Yeah, it's down a little bit right now. It was just up, Tom. It looks like we're seeing that reversal again. So the market opened. 75% of my watch list is red. 10 minutes later, 75% is green. And now it's like definitely shifting over back to the red. So that sucks.
Yeah, it definitely does. Like, I hope some of these stocks hold up, like Enphase, maybe Target will hold up because it's it's more of like one of those value plays. But I'm a little bit worried about some of the plays like Tesla, maybe like Enphase. I really hope that they hold, but I'm a little worried they might start falling back off, like you mentioned, like some of these other stocks are doing. And I wonder how some of those chip plays are doing, Mike. We haven't really hit on those too much this morning, but looks like AMD was moving like those growth plays. At open, AMD started really moving up, and now it reversed right back to the downside. Looks like we have some of these commodity plays like X kind of starting to fall off as well, and even AI, Mike. AI was doing very well earlier. Now it's right back down. So pretty unfortunate to see the turnaround here, Mike. And poor SoFi here is down 8.9% again. I mean, man, it just keeps getting worse for them, unfortunately. Look at this poor chart.
Yeah. Check out Roblox intraday though really quickly. So like it opened up and then like here, let me go to like a 1 minute chart. Give me 1 second. Yeah, like it had like a couple minutes of amazing movement and the sellers just came in and completely turned this thing around. So That's pretty crazy. So what's interesting is those a lot of other stocks have the same pattern. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure if we
Yeah.
go to let's say Square for example, yeah, it's like it's basically the same thing. So yeah, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, it does. A lot of these growth plays are looking just like that. I mean, Hood's doing it. Peloton is moving like that. I wonder how Lucid and Rivian are doing because I know these stocks have been going down. It seems like every single day lately, and it looks like they're going down again. Poor Rivian here, or Lucid, I mean, is down 2.22%. Definitely some bad intraday movement here. I wonder how Rivian looks, and yeah, they're looking even worse, almost down 2.5%. So we're seeing those like smaller EV companies continue to move down as well. And man, this turnaround here, Mike, was brutal. But I'm trying to find some stocks back to the upside here. Let's see, DWAC. I mean, it's not really doing anything, of course. I wonder how Costco. Actually, Costco's not looking bad, Mike. Look at this; they're almost up to $600 now, and it's not every day Costco leads my watch list to the upside, but it's having a nice move.
Costco has been a powerhouse, Tom. Like check it out on like a daily chart. It's like nonstop up and like it's at its all-time high right now, which is crazy to think, but this one has been holding up extremely well and not only just holding up well, but actually like performing very well in a market where so many other stocks are falling.
Yeah, they are. And, I think it might have to do with just straight up inflation and prices going up because, Costco sells a lot of stuff that people just have to buy. Like people aren't going to go without groceries and food and, stuff like that. And that's what Costco lives with. So it's cool to see them rising up like this, Mike. It's awesome. They're almost up to $600 a share today. Let's see on the 5-minute candles. I'm sure it'll be here within like 10 minutes if the movement continues. But yeah, it's nice to see them up this much because they're kind of like Walmart. They're a slower mover, but like a 2.5% day is huge for Costco. Like you said, look at that daily chart. It's starting to really extend to the upside. So having some awesome moves here. And Mike, I feel like that these like I said yesterday a little bit, I think some of these like retail plays are going to do a lot better here with the inflation kind of making prices go up.
Yeah, I mean, so far Costco and Walmart have been performing very well. So generally, like a lot of times investors will scoop up those safer stocks, especially in times of economic uncertainty. So I can see it.
Yeah, I remember looking at some charts from like 2008, like looking back and looking at like what type of sectors did well. And I believe, don't quote me 100%, but I believe there was a lot of companies like the food companies like Hormel, companies like that, maybe like Walmart and stuff were outperforming other stocks. But I could be wrong, but I do believe that I saw that those stocks do better during recessions and stuff like that. So that's good to see at least. But yeah, I mean it's nice to see them rising, Mike, and I'm curious to see how much they're going to go up because Walmart has been consolidating for over a year now. So to see it finally break out here is pretty telling. And I'm curious to see like on how big of an uptrend Walmart's going to go because sometimes whenever Walmart does start finally breaking out, kind of like how it broke out, I'll say like just after COVID, it started having some pretty insane moves to the upside. So I'm curious to see like how it's going to move here.
So let's go to Walmart back in I guess just 2008 to 2009 max weekly chart. We can see, of course, Walmart fell a little bit, like basically all other stocks did. But the difference is that Walmart like barely fell. Like yeah, it fell. What is it, like maybe 25% from the absolute high to the absolute low, Tom? But if you compare that to, of course, the bank stocks or even like other tech stocks or almost anything else, Walmart outperformed. You know what I mean? So kind of like what you were saying, like it outperformed. It didn't necessarily like do amazing, but it held up a lot better than basically all other stocks.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the main thing is that it's going to it's going to be a little bit safer because it's not going to fall quite as much. A lot of those tech stocks there, Mike, were falling like 50%, 60%. And those poor bank stocks, like, man, if you look at Bank of America in 2008, I mean, can you almost get any worse? 55 down to $2. This reminds me of like Zoom or like Corsair or like Workhorse or something like that. Like I can't believe how much Bank of America fell during that time. But yeah, I mean, I definitely see what you mean, Mike. And whenever I look at some other stocks that were safer during that time, kind of like HRL also, again, you can see it took a dip, but it started really recovering back. And kind of also these stocks kind of recovered a little bit quicker than some of the other stocks did in the market, which is pretty good to see. You know, I know a lot of those stocks, Mike, took like in some cases like 5 years to recover. I'm not sure Amazon's case here, but like let's even check them out because I know they were still a powerhouse. Like let's see how much Amazon fell from low to high. They were down almost 64, almost 65%. So yeah, you can definitely see how like those tech plays were moving down at a more rapid pace than some of those safer value stocks.
Yeah. How was Citigroup or Citibank during like the 2008 problem?
Yeah, let's go see. Wow, Mike, this one was, oh my gosh. I mean, and they never recovered back. Wow, Citigroup was at five. So pretty much they double topped up here just before, I guess you could say the financial crisis started, right around like 553, 555. They fell all the way down to $9.70. Like, oh my gosh, Mike. Like, I cannot even believe what I'm seeing here. It's been a while since I've like researched these banks during '08, but wow, that is telling there. And am I seeing this right, Mike? Like, did they do a reverse split or is that a regular split? And I'll have to look that up from May 9th, 2011.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? What is the drop in like percentage terms from the high to the low?
Let's see. This is going to be nuts. I mean, man, this is going to be tough, Mike. Let's see. All right, so percentage from the top to the bottom, and it's hard to gauge because the bottom is so undefined, but pretty much down to $9.70. You're looking at 98% drop on the stock. Like, that is huge.
Yeah, that is insane. Alrighty.
That is insane. Hey, and Mike, by the way, I looked it up. Wait till you see this article really quickly here. Citigroup did reverse split after that, which is insane. It had a reverse stock split in the beginning of May 2011. So that is pretty telling. They fell down 98% and then had to reverse split. So that should really tell you.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. That's why I love to like look back like years and years and years ago on some of these stocks because you can learn a lot from it. You know what I mean? Like you look at Citigroup and you compare it to Bank of America or Wells Fargo or like JP Morgan. Like the chart with JP Morgan and Citigroup specifically are pretty different in the sense that JP Morgan has recovered quite a bit since the 2008 financial crisis, but at the same time it didn't even fall to the same extent that Citigroup did too. So like there's just like a lot to learn just by looking back throughout history.
Yeah, there really is. And to be honest, like a lot of these bank stocks recovered up a lot quicker than I thought. Like JP Morgan, like it fell sure like 70% there in the short term, but kind of like with COVID, of course it fell a lot, but then it came right back up. And same thing happened in '08, at least with this specific example. Of course, not with everything, but JP Morgan came up pretty quick. If I look at like Wells Fargo, see how it was like just a straight V pattern? Like, of course they fell, but they were right back where they were within just about like 6 months to a year's time. And Mike, I'm also curious to see kind of like what the Fed was doing here with their policy. Like, I want to kind of go back and maybe look at like how they were raising rates at that time, or possibly lowering rates during the drop and then making them maybe raising rates, maybe in like 2012, 2013. I'm curious to see how the Feds played that out back then, because I think that might give us some more insight into maybe how they'll play, raising rates now.
All right, there we go. Let's see. Looks like J Deep mentioned NAT. How's that one doing?
NAT, Nordic Arctic Tankers, or Nordic American Tankers. So looking at it, this is a pretty crazy looking stock here, Mike. Over the past couple months, it's definitely had some nice price action. I know we've only heard about it a couple times and we haven't looked at it too much, but it's definitely moving up. It's up 10.6%. This one has to have some news or something, I think. Let me look here, typing in NAT on my Thinkorswim news tab. Yeah, I don't really see anything too big with them, so I'm not too sure, but either way, I mean, it's having some nice runs of the upside, and I'm sure the high commodity prices are helping them.
Yeah, so we don't really trade penny stocks like this one. So if you're in it, we hope it pops for you, but it's not really for us. But Tom, I'm doing a couple more scans to see where the momentum is at today. And there's three major stocks I'm seeing so far. First one, we have Pfizer. This one is currently breaking its high of day, and the stock is only up like 2% so far. So that one's running. We also have Tesla running to the upside. It's nothing crazy, but still, it's right around that high of day. We also have CCJ booming up in a pretty nice way.
Wow, CCJ. Yeah, there we go. 5.4%. That's huge, Mike. You know, I know that a lot of these plays have been insane lately with the commodities, and I know uranium has been a pretty big market. Looks like CCJ has had a lot of resistance here, right around like $30.40, $30.50, somewhere really close to there, and it's starting to really run back up. And I bet I wouldn't be surprised if CCJ started making new highs over the next couple days. You know, it's been these commodity plays have really been running, and they're definitely not proving us wrong. I like how you also mentioned Pfizer, because Pfizer has been on a pretty nice uptrend, Mike. Like, of course, they consolidated for a couple days because they rose from 45 straight up to 55, but now they're back on the uptrend. And I know we heard some renewed stuff like with another COVID strain over in the UK and stuff like that. And I wonder if that's helping Pfizer start to get some more momentum. I'm also kind of seeing Moderna move up with them as well today.
Did you check out like gold? Because that's also breaking out too.
Yeah, GLD is doing very well. It's actually consolidating a lot right around this 180 support. Man, I'll tell you, Mike, like these GLD options are not looking too bad here. You know, like honestly, GLD has been consolidating a lot around 180. If we start to move off of 180 back up towards like 185, even like 190 up there, best case scenario up around 190, I think we'll see some really good moves out of those GLD options. And, you know, that last uptrend was pretty telling. And who knows, if we see something come out with Russia or something like that again too, that'll just help boost gold up even more in the short term. So I think this will be a pretty good play, Mike. And we're kind of straddling this 180 support, and today it's kind of pointing up. So I'm curious to see where this one ends, because I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we had like a nice steady day out of gold. Like, you know, last week gold had some pretty nice runs up earlier in the morning, and it started like falling back off. But I will say, like, I think today we might see some renewed momentum.
There we go. And then I just want to take a quick look at some of these other commodities. So can we like scroll through like oil, and then like even like ExxonMobil, Chevron, stuff like that?
Yeah, I will say oil, I've been noticing, has been doing very pretty bad lately, Mike. Like, I will say crude has been falling. It's actually under $100 a barrel now. Last night I saw this and it kind of really surprised me. It threw me off a little bit, but yeah, we're down to $96 a barrel now on crude oil. I know Exxon and like stocks like that haven't been exploding. Like, they've been doing well, they've been holding their ground, but they haven't really been doing too much. And I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Exxon started to fall back off to the downside. Same thing like maybe with Chevron. You know, actually Chevron, Mike, is in a pretty good setup here. Let's check this out on the let's check it out on a, let's say, 180-day 1 hour chart. You can see they've been like really kind of just consolidating here pretty much for like the past like almost half month here. And I feel like that they might start finally falling back off to the downside, because I don't know about you, Mike, but I feel like at some point these oil plays are going to start tumbling.
I'm just not going to short them. I'm not, at the same time, I'm not going to buy into them. Like, I just feel like we're at a point right now where there's so much uncertainty with everything going on between Russia and Ukraine and everywhere else. And I just feel like I don't have like a great edge with oil right now. Like, I feel like it's like, yes, it's overextended, but personally, like, I feel like it's not overextended enough to the point where I'm gonna short it. That's just my opinion. It can definitely be wrong. Like, at the same time, it's like, even though even though, like I said, I think oil's a little bit overextended, the fact that we have Warren Buffett buying billions of dollars worth of it just kind of turns me off to like a short position with oil.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. You know, I know a lot of people talk about seasonal stuff with oil and stuff like that as well. And we're getting into these summer months again, and as we know, like people travel more during the summertime, so that means that these companies generally make more money. And like for example, if these gas prices stay high, if they stay high and then we go through a summer of high gas prices like this, who knows? I mean, these companies might start reporting some pretty good profits on these earnings reports too. So, there's a lot of different catalysts going on, and all that we need, Mike, like who knows? We might wake up one morning and Russia assaulted Kyiv and crude oil pops back up to 120 overnight. We're just one bad news report away from oil retesting highs again. So honestly, I'm with you. Shorting it's pretty scary right now, to be honest. But I'm leaning to the downside. But kind of like what you said, it's kind of a scary play right now, especially with some of the companies like Chevron and Exxon, and like they've been running up so much, and they could still continue. Like I said, those high oil prices definitely are gonna help them out definitely over the next few months, hopefully even the next year if the prices stay up.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Let's see. I'm just looking through some of these comments. Joe keeps mentioning BRCC. How's that one?
I've never heard of this one, but let's check it out. BRCC. Looks like it's a pretty new IPO, Mike. Do you know what these guys do at all? Have you heard about them?
I keep hearing people talk about them, but I have not looked into them. Let's see.
Yeah, they're doing pretty well today, though. I mean, they're explosive. They're up 6%, and man, like this daily chart looks pretty good. I wish I would have heard about them back when they were straddling like $16 or something, because man, if we could have followed this price action, it could have maybe been a good breakout play over the past couple days. But it's probably going to be pretty tough to trade this one.
Yeah, I'm looking into it right now. Okay, so it's a coffee company supporting veterans. Oh, I heard of this.
It's Black Rifle Coffee.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, okay. I know what this is for sure. Huh,
yeah, this is a pretty cool company actually, Mike, and they support veterans and stuff like that. This is interesting. Who knows about? I wonder if this one will end up doing pretty good.
Yeah, actually, I know exactly what this is now. Huh.
Yeah, I know that they sell coffee like that you can make at your own house and stuff, and they support veterans and stuff like that. This has been around actually for quite a while, and man, I've been seeing stuff about them forever. But like these look like some pretty cool like coffees. Obviously, they support like pretty cool coffees. But yeah, it kind of reminds me, Mike, of like a protein shake or something like that. But yeah, it's a cool company. They support veterans, and some money goes to like fire departments and police and first responders and stuff like that. So pretty cool. And man, look at some of these look at some of these bags, Mike. These are interesting. Like look at this one with the dog. Like how do they come up with some of these?
Let's see. It's loading up. Oh, yeah. So yeah, I have not been following the stock too much, Joe. It's booming up. It has a lot of momentum. In the past, we've had plays like this one where, it'll have a ton of hype for a couple weeks and then it'll die down. All I'm going to say is try not to get too caught up in the hype. Like, it's awesome that the stock is booming. The stock has more than doubled over the past, like, month and a half, which is awesome. But with new listings, you just have to be very, very careful with hype. Tom, I want to go through a couple examples really quickly. Let's check out Robinhood. When they first IPO'd, they had so much hype. They IPO'd at like around 40. They ran all the way up to 85, so they more than doubled, and then lost it all. Now they're trading at 12. We can also look at like DWAC. There was so much hype with this one. Went from like $10 up to $175. Now it's at 47, right? And there's a million examples we can go through like this. So just keep in mind, try not to get too caught up in the hype because a lot of people lose a lot of money doing that. So either way, thanks for sharing BRCC. We have Head saying, what do you guys think about TELL? Let's see, TELL. Stock is down 3%. Ooh. Again, we don't really trade like penny stocks like this. Like just a couple months ago it was at like $3. So we don't really focus on these types of stocks. We mainly focus on like growth companies and like more established companies, but it has a lot of momentum. Like I said, I haven't been following it, so I'm not sure what is driving that momentum.
Yeah, and it's definitely had a lot. I mean, it recently flew, like you said, flew up from like $2.25 all the way up to highs of like $6.50. So definitely had a big move there. But I will say, like, look at the big drop it had during COVID. Like, I don't know what exactly this company does, but it is starting to recover back up, which is good to see though. So I don't know. It's not a stock for me either. Like Mike said, it's just too low in price, and the price action's kind of nuts with this one. I will say though, like it looks like it goes on some pretty good runs, like if you catch it at the right time, but just keep in mind then it usually gives those gains right back. So I don't know. I feel like we might start to be like on the brink of like another downtrend with this one, but you never know. Like it could have a good catalyst.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. We have you're saying think BAB will go down. I got some puts on 29. I don't know, Tom. Everyone's mentioning all these stocks that we don't really trade. So let's see. BAB looks like a bond fund. It looks like municipal bonds.
Yeah.
Let's see. I would strongly recommend against not trading options on this one, Tom. This options chain is extremely illiquid. There has not been one option traded on this option chain today, and that is a significant problem. So the problem is, like, let's say you went to, yeah, this is a big problem. So, like, let's say you have the 29 strike puts. The bid is at $25 right now, and the ask is at $95. So it's like, let's say you buy the 29 strike puts. Realistically, even though these might be trading for around $50, you're going to have to pay $95 for them. And if you're right, you might be able to sell them back to the market for maybe $100 if you're lucky, right? Because there's no other traders or there's no other volume in the market. If you're wrong, you lose everything basically. So yeah, he said, I appreciate the info. I think I'll take it out, LOL, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, we're just trying to share some lessons that we've learned in the past. Liquidity is such an important thing, Tom. Like, I know I just gave this example, but I want to give another one to further illustrate my point. With BAB, May 20th expiration, the 28 strike puts have a bid of 0. They have an ask of 275. So it's no. It's bad. But
yeah, could you imagine buying it? Like you wouldn't even know what price to buy it at,
right.
And you'd probably end up overpaying by like double. Like yeah. It's pretty. That's pretty insane there, Mike. Like some of those spreads you're naming are pretty wide. So yeah, I definitely would be careful with it too. I mean, that's pretty telling there. And like kind of like you said, I mean, it's always better to have more volume in those chains than not. And that's what makes like SPY so cool to day trade, is that you always have like you're never gonna have like crazy spreads really. Like there's just so much volume going into them. Same thing with like Amazon, Tesla, and stuff like that. Usually end up getting some pretty good price action out of those, but obviously just that low of volume's bad. Like you could obviously go lower volume than like Tesla or something, but still, I mean that's pretty telling. Like $0 to $25 on the spread, like that's nuts.
No, Tom, 0 to 275.
Oh, 275, even worse. I mean, that's like how would you even like try to price that? Like you'd have to maybe put in some bids at like maybe like 100 and hope they get filled, and who knows, you might get filled there and then have to sell them back for like 20 or something. I mean, that's nuts.
Yep. All right, so then we have Raymond saying, can you suggest a cash secured put on Palantir and SoFi for next week's expiration? Let's see. Looking at Palantir, it's at 1310. I'm just looking through the chain really quickly. For Palantir for next week, I would either go with like the $12.50 puts or the $12 puts. I know like with the $12 put, you're only going to get like $13, which is kind of low, but the margin requirement necessary is very low, and it's actually a very high annualized return. I would say overall the $12.50 strike puts are probably the way to go. They offer like a nice balance of a nice return for a week with I guess you can say a decent amount of risk, but nothing too crazy. Because Palantir's at like 13.15 right now. It's like if it fell down to 12.50, you buy then. So I think the 12.50 puts for next week are pretty good for Palantir. And then SoFi, let's see. I'm not as excited about SoFi as I am with Palantir, but if you wanted a specific SoFi cash secured put and I had to give you one, I would say the $7.50 strike for next week if you wanted next week's.
Ooh, yeah, SoFi here has been falling off in a pretty big way. It's almost making new lows again, so I'd be careful with SoFi. I do like it better. It was Palantir was the first one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like it a lot better with Palantir. I was eyeing up the Palantir chain there too, Mike, and yeah, you're right. Like $12.50 looks pretty good. What I really like about 12.50, Mike, is whenever I look on the daily chart here and I look at Palantir's price action, they were having a lot of bounces right around $12. So, if they do fall down to like $12, they start bouncing back up a little bit, you might get filled at 12.50, and then maybe you'll be in at a perfect price point for another like move back to the upside. So I'm glad you're looking at that 12.50 one, because it's also just like kind of lining up with that support there around 12.
Yeah. All right, cool. So that is good there. What else do we have? We have Caleb saying Microsoft and Apple predictions. Let's see. Let me take a look at these ones. Let me see. Let me look at a couple more things. Tom, do you have any thoughts while I'm analyzing?
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft and Apple are looking pretty strange right now, I think, in my opinion. Like Apple here, it's kind of double topping up here around like 183. It's had a lot of issues breaking out above 180 recently. I do feel like, Apple's just such a powerhouse. Like, it's hard to bet against them. Like I will say, like, as far as like my opinion, I would say that I think Apple would eventually start to move back up if the market moves up. But if we do see the market keep moving down as the Fed keeps tightening their policy and stuff, then I feel like that these tech stocks will start to come down with the market. To me, it depends on on how the market digests what the Feds are doing, but we'll have to see, because Mike, like lots of people have been pointing at like the yield curve inverting and stuff like that, and they've been looking at different economic factors that maybe point to another recession coming. And if that does happen, we're going to see a lot of these tech plays get hurt, at least in the short term. But as far as like looking at percentages and past statistics and stuff, it's hard to bet against Apple and Microsoft because they're just powerhouses.
Yeah, so I know what you mean, and I agree with you with that. To that extent, like, it's really hard to bet against these companies. Personally, I am relatively bearish on Apple and Microsoft, but it does not mean I would short them. Like, if you're asking, like, if I had to give a direction, I would say I'm leaning very slightly towards the downside. They're normally stocks you just don't want to bet against. At the same time, I'm not going to be buying into Apple after it just went from 150 up to 180 basically over a 2-week span. You know what I mean? Like, I'm definitely not going to buy into them for the short term right now. Same with Microsoft. So if I had to pick a direction, I would lean slightly towards the downside. Something important to keep in mind is that the goal is not to win like every single trade out there in the market. While this goal is never possible, it's better to just try and win the trades that you do take, if that makes sense. So, for example, like instead of looking at Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, Amazon, and AMD, instead of trying to predict the direction correctly on every single one of them, if you just have like a very high degree of certainty that, let's say, Facebook will rise. Instead of trying to be right about all those other stocks, if you can just be right about Facebook, a lot of times it just leads to less trading, which is a good thing, and normally an increase in accuracy. So for that reason, that's why I'm not even really like trading Apple and Microsoft too much right now, because they're just at a weird point where it's like I'm not going to buy them after they just exploded up over the past 2 or 3 weeks. And at the same time, like historically, it's been a very bad idea to short Apple and Microsoft, and they're fundamental powerhouses, so it just doesn't really make sense short them. I mean, unless you thought that they were like relatively overvalued, but still, it's just like, you know what I mean, Tom? It's just like not like a great opportunity to either direction in the short term, in my opinion.
Yeah, like whenever we look at the past, I mean, whenever Apple falls, you know, it does take like a bit of downturns here and there, but generally not too much. You know, I feel like that maybe some of this recent price action is maybe like what Apple needed to maybe finally start to go back on the uptrend here. You know, like we're finally starting to see stocks like Walmart and stocks like that start to break back out above these highs here. I know that they're nothing like an Apple, but I'm hoping eventually here Apple will start to maybe run back up above these highs. I will say, Mike, like on a technical note though, you know, they are double topping up here and they did create a bit of like a lower high. So, you know, I could definitely see some more downwards momentum in the short term as well. Like you said, I mean, they just had a crazy uptrend. They got rejected right off of 180 and now they're starting to fall back down. So it's going to be a tough one. You know, it's not a trade that I'm going to personally take either. Like I'm not going to trade them up and I'm not going to trade them down. But yeah, I definitely see what you mean there, Mike. And, you know, like Apple's a tough one. You know, I feel like that it's probably going to be pretty mixed. Like if you ask people their opinions, I'm sure that this one's going to be one of the ones that, you know, like I'm sure like a lot of people would agree with me. A lot of people might agree that with you that they're looking at it more to the downside. So it's a tougher one to look at. But, you know, I definitely agree that in the short term, it's definitely a little bit overextended, especially when you look at the past month. You know, if you look at a month, then it's definitely overextended. But I don't know. It's a hard one to trade, Mike. And I feel like that it's kind of like what you said, leaning to the downside in the short term might be the better way to go, especially with the Fed starting to tighten and everything like that. I have a weird feeling, Mike, that like we might start to see, I'm not saying like a recession, but maybe like a pullback, something like that start to happen. Because whenever the Fed starts to do what they're doing, I know that historically the market's done decent, but I feel like for at least for like the next couple months, we'll start to see some pretty good volatility, especially like whenever the FOMC meeting happens again in May.
Yeah. All right, we'll see. Tom, do you have any last minute thoughts or plays before we close out?
I mean, AbbVie's still going. I want to point this one out today. It's up 1.49%, continues to explode up. This stock is not stopping, Mike. It just keeps going up day by day. They are doing very, very well. Pfizer's another one that's hot lately. They've been also running up day by day. So I'm definitely keeping them on the radar also. But I'm really liking these plays, you know, and they started talking about that new COVID variant over there in the UK. That's going to be pretty bad, you know, if that starts spilling over into the United States. Like I know that, you know, obviously the last couple variants have not gone well, like Omicron and stuff like that. So I'm curious to see how these vaccine plays do. Like even Moderna's starting to pop back up today. So it's definitely interesting to see these stocks starting to move back in the green. But other than a few stocks, Mike, you know, my watch list has been slowly turning more red as the day went on. I remember early in the morning, AMC was doing pretty well, and now it actually fell under $20, Mike. It's all the way down to $19 here at this point. But like we talked about, these growth stocks had some major turnarounds. So I don't know, Mike. Today, it seems like the only things really moving are maybe like Tesla, which is moving ever so slightly to the upside with their rodeo event later, and then maybe some of these vaccine plays.
All right, there we go. Well, thank you guys so much for watching today's stream. Before we close out, I want to give a giant shout out to every single person who joined. So thank you so much, George, Hunter, I'm Fierce, Sup, Sean, Vicky, Joe, Chewy, Carlos, J Deep, Do, Raymond, Head, Yor, and Caleb, and Couch Potato. Thank you guys so much for joining, and have a great rest of your day.